So over in Pennsylvania, they've announced that Allegheny County is not going to begin counting about 30,000 ballots until tomorrow. These systems are just broken. They're just broken. I mean, the possibility of undermining public confidence is so unbelievably high when you delay the counts this way. When you're not counting through the night, when you are delaying the counts, and obviously, it's because of this patchwork of laws that have been created. And that's not just on Democrats, that's on Republicans. It was on Republicans in Wisconsin. It's on Republicans to a certain extent in Arizona. Right. Well, but a lot of the messes that are created here are bipartisan messes, and they require an actual cleanup. There's a reason that Florida runs this thing really tightly, runs a really clean ship when it comes to the voting count. According to Chris Potter, the reason why Allegheny County, which includes areas that are very Democratic and could make up the difference for for Joe Biden against Donald Trump in Pennsylvania right now, Trump holds a very slim lead in Pennsylvania. And the reason that Allegheny County apparently is being delayed is because the ballots in question, according to Chris Potter, who's a reporter for WESA, require special attention. The vast majority, up to 29,000, involve a situation where a vendor sent the wrong ballot to voters and then had to reissue new ballots with the correct races. The challenge is there are now voters who have two ballots, one with the wrong races. So you have to give those ballots special scrutiny to make sure that A, people don't vote twice, and B, if they just send in the old one, they don't vote in races they aren't eligible for. So you can't just scan them along with the rest. Other ballots in the pot include those that don't scan for whatever reason, like when an ATM won't process the amount of a check you want to deposit, so you have to bring it into the bank office. When ballots require special scrutiny, the county records the vote through a return board whose members are sworn in for that purpose. The board reviews the results tallied up by election workers after polls close, but also addresses provisional ballots, military ballots, etc. The board's members are set to be sworn in tomorrow, the Friday after Election Day. There's nothing nefarious here. The county's GOP chair is comfortable with the process. This is also not people just taking a day off. The other factor is the county has to wait until Friday for mail-in ballots to come in that were postmarked by Election Day. That whole situation was adjudicated by the courts. As far as the complaints that Republicans have about ballots coming in after Election Day that were not postmarked, those ballots are, in fact, being sequestered. They're being kept separate from the other ballots. And so if the Supreme Court has to rule on that, the Supreme Court will rule on that as well. There are a lot of rumors out there right now regarding the possibility of voter irregularities and voter fraud. This is exacerbated by the fact that the Trump team is filing some fairly well-predicated lawsuits, apparently. There's one lawsuit in Pennsylvania that they just had granted. It was an injunction forcing the Trump ballot watchers to be allowed into the balloting areas. So this is, it's all a mess. I mean, I think the short story here is all a mess. Ed Morrissey of Hot Air, at least, who is obviously a conservative, he says, no one in Pennsylvania is gold bricking this process, not with the nation focused on them and the specter of Florida 2000 in our peripheral vision. Meanwhile, Georgia is getting tighter and tighter. So the current count in Georgia is putting Biden within striking distance of President Trump. The Trump team says that they are not particularly worried about Georgia at this point, but things are incredibly, incredibly close, as in like 12,000 votes close. Okay, and a lot of the ballots that are coming in are coming in from particularly Democratic areas. So Team Trump is attempting to now cure ballots, apparently. There are about 8,000 ballots that they're attempting to cure, people who put in their ballot, but there was a mistake on the ballot, and so now they're trying to fix those. According to the New York Times, the presidential race in Georgia appeared headed for a photo finish as former VP Joe Biden steadily gained ground on President Trump. The victor will be awarded 16 electoral votes and with it the presidency, presumably. Biden began Wednesday morning approximately 100,000 votes behind Trump, but as county elections workers around the state continued the laborious tabulation of absentee ballots into Thursday morning, Trump's lead narrowed to 23,000 votes, or 0.5%. There's an automatic recount provision if the margin is 0.5% or less. Fulton County is, of course, where a lot of these votes are coming from, and that is home to most of Atlanta. Apparently, according to Brad Raffensperger, the Georgia Secretary of State, who is a Republican, he said that as of 10:15 p.m. Wednesday, about 90,000 ballots still needed to be counted. More of a third of them were in Fulton and DeKalb counties as well. So all of this is too close to comfort for anybody at this point. Meanwhile, in Nevada, we have reached the end of the road for today. Apparently, there will be no new announcements of the balloting in Nevada. Nevada reported another round of votes. It showed Biden's lead expanding from about 7,600 votes to more than 10,000 votes in Nevada. That's out of about 1.2 million votes that have already been counted. Trump's lead in Pennsylvania has also been narrowing. It fell to about 130,000 votes, or 2.1% in Pennsylvania. As of late this morning, there were still almost 600,000 mail-in ballots to remain counted. Most of the mail-in ballots remain in Philadelphia County, which, of course, is heavy Democratic territory, followed by Chester County. That's a county that turned blue in 2016, and then Allegheny County, and that is the one that we have been talking about in terms of the pause that has been put on hold right now. So bottom line is this: it is all a mess, and we're all going to have to wait, and we're all just going to have to get over it. Now, this does not mean that there are not plausible allegations of voter fraud or voter irregularity. It means that the margins right here would have to be very, very narrow for voter fraud or voter irregularity to be the deciding factor in all of this. We're going to find out by tomorrow. I think that by tomorrow, midday, we're going to know exactly where we stand in the vast majority of these states. Arizona remains a toss-up state. There's apparently going to be a late-night dump by the Arizona Secretary of State of data. Team Trump seems pretty confident that they are actually going to overwhelm the Democrats in Arizona with the late-breaking ballots and take over there. Now, one of the things that you've heard from the media is that it is ridiculous that Trump is wanting the votes to be counted in Arizona, but he wants the votes counted. He wants the votes paused in Philadelphia. There's a reason for that. In one, he believes that there is a well-predicated legal challenge, and one he believes that there is not, or at least his legal team does. Right? The fact is that in Arizona, there's yet to be real accusations of voter impropriety. The only one that I've heard is Sharpiegate, and it turns out that that is likely untrue. But in Pennsylvania, there are serious questions to be asked about poll watchers. There are questions to be asked about the standards that are being applied right now as to which ballots get counted and which ones don't get counted. One thing is clear in Arizona, and that's that Fox News absolutely screwed up. So Fox News may end up being right about calling Arizona in favor of Biden when all is said and done, but they called it Tuesday night, and that was just absolutely wrong. Even Nate Silver was like, this is crazy. Fox needs to retract that call. So Nate Silver tweeted that out yesterday. He said that in his own opinion, he said, I don't know. I guess I'd say Biden will win Arizona if you force me to pick. I sure as heck don't think the state should have been called by anyone. I think the calls that were previously made should be retracted now. A Trump campaign official went on Fox News and reamed Fox News for the early Arizona call. Again, that came on Tuesday night.
As this narrows, there is going to be great pressure on you guys, to be honest with you, Fox News, to rescind your call. It was a premature call. You know, we were livid about the fact that you and then the AP made that call. There are 7 organizations that call states on election night from time to time. 7. 5 of those 7 did not make that call. And
okay,
you guys
Tim, we got it.
You don't want to be in a position. This is going to lead Joe Biden to falsely declare himself the president-elect at some point.
Understood.
Okay, so Fox News certainly should not have called it that early. I think that is pretty obvious to everybody, including many of the pollsters. So Arizona, again, up for grabs. Pennsylvania, up for grabs. Georgia, up for grabs. It looks like Michigan has trended against Trump, so Michigan is probably gone. Wisconsin has trended against Trump. That is a 20,000 vote margin, so that one is probably gone. Trump has filed lawsuits in Wisconsin to demand a recount. The recount is unlikely to shift 20,000 votes. Most recounts may shift a couple of hundred votes. And that's when you start to get into real voter fraud territory, right? When you're talking about hundreds of votes, like it was in Norm Coleman versus Al Franken, and suddenly ballots are magically discovered like 3 weeks after an election, that's when you start to get real suspicious. But to shift tens of thousands of votes, obviously, would be a heavier lift. So right now, all I can counsel is patience. A little bit of patience here. I know that Democrats don't want to allow for that. Democrats are very impatient. They're saying it's time to declare. Let's just declare this thing. The problem with that is that if you actually would like to see the American public trust the outcome, you need to wait it out. Facts don't care about your feelings, and it's a fact that The Ben Shapiro Show is the largest conservative podcast in the nation. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our content.